Good morning. It is good to be with all of you this morning, whether you are here in person or watching from home. Pardon me. Last night, these halls were full of conversation, music, and laughter as we gathered to celebrate the end of our generosity campaign. Several people mentioned to me that they saw old friends who they had not seen since before the pandemic. And equally special was the chance to meet some people who have been attending regularly on Zoom and over YouTube, but had never walked through our doors until they came to the party last night. It was good for all of us to be together. Special thanks to the Stewardship Committee, especially Chair Rob Scheller, for their work on the event. This morning, Reverend James and Reverend Sasha are out of the pulpit, but we are thrilled to welcome back to UUFR the Reverend Randy Lewis. I'm so glad that you're here this morning with us, Randy. As we begin our time together, let me share with you words from the Unitarian Universalist minister Gretchen Haley. Open the door of your hesitant heart. Let the light shine on all the sleeping shadows. Awaken to this day that offers itself to you and to all with a great extravagance. Awaken to this gift, this beauty, this chance, that we might still begin again and anew, that we might be changed by the in and out of breath, that we might still burst forth like the crocuses, that we might still surprise this earth with a new song, sung together, calling us all in, and then sending us back out, and know it all as a blessing. Come, let us worship together.
I used to believe in the days I was naive that I'd live to see a day of justice dawn. And though I will die long before that morning comes, I'll die while believing still it will come when I am gone. Someday, when we are wiser, when the world's older, when we have learned, I pray someday we may yet live and let live. Someday life will be fairer, need will be rarer, greed will not pay. Godspeed this bright millennium on its way. Let it come someday. When the world's older, when things have changed, someday these dreams will all be real. Still then we'll wish upon the moon. Change will come one day, someday soon.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the liberal religious tradition to which this congregation belongs. I invite you to stand as you are able for the lighting of our chalice, and if you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light yours with me now. Will you please join me in reciting these words on the screen? As we kindle this flame, we recommit ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to build a Unitarian Universalist community that transforms lives and empowers people to serve the world. May the light of this flame be welcoming to all who seek a liberal religious home. And will those of you standing please remain standing for our opening hymn, which is number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open, and we'll sing it together twice as Bill and Linda lead us.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Thank you, and please be seated. If you're visiting us for the first time this morning, I'd like to offer you a special welcome. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Raleigh, we are intentionally inclusive, liberally religious, and actively serving the common good of our shared world. Whoever you are and wherever you are on your own religious journey, you are welcome here. As Unitarian Universalists, we seek wisdom and inspiration from many sources, but we affirm our own individual experience and conscience as the best authority for our beliefs. We believe that the purpose of religion is to help us live more fully in this life, and we believe that religious community helps us to do so and to make this world a better place. We hope that you might join us in some of the many things we do together to grow our own souls and to make the world more compassionate and more just. If you're visiting us for the first time in person, I invite you to stop by our welcome stand out in the foyer if you haven't already done so. And if you're a return visitor, you can pick up a more permanent name tag at that same stand. If you're visiting online, we invite you to fill out our online visitor form. That's at uufr.org/visitor form. And if you do this, you'll start receiving our weekly e-newsletter. I hope all of you will read through the chalice you received by email on Thursday about everything happening at UUFR. As you know, it is chock full. Just a few reminders. If you'd like to see an order of service for this morning, it's available online. You can also get it by scanning the QR code at one of the pillars at the entrance. And if you ever need an assisted listening device, they are available from our AV team in the back corner there. Now, a special announcement about next Saturday. We are asking the whole congregation to join us online on Zoom at 10 a.m. for a very important workshop with our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. This workshop will be led by the Reverend Julia Herman de la Fuente. She is our new anti-racism consultant, and she is going to lead an interactive workshop focused on advancing our anti-racism work. This workshop is intended to help us all get on the same page as we prepare to embark on the exciting next chapter of our congregation's racial justice work, and we want as many people as possible to join. The workshop is especially important for those serving on a team or in another leadership position. So again, that's next Saturday, April 30th, from 10 till noon. Details, including the link to the Zoom meeting, can be found in Thursday's chalice. So our social hour, for those of us in person this morning, will be outside on the upper balcony. And for everyone watching from home, there are instructions on how to join our Zoom social hour on the front page of our website. And last but certainly not least, do we have a special slide? In celebration of Earth Day, which was Friday, of course, we will be having some special activities right after today's worship service. We are going to have a covenant tree dedication in the upper parking lot, recognizing this congregation's commitment to climate justice. And there will also be storytelling by our own Robin Kitson in the lower courtyard. And finally, last but not least, there will be a talk for adults, everything you ever wanted to know, and apparently some things you may not have wanted to know about composting. That's all after this morning's service in celebration of our commitment to our earth. There will be special snacks as well, so I hope many of you will be able to join us. And I now invite you to meet and greet your neighbors. All right. This is the time in our service when we acknowledge some of the joys and sorrows of our community. We do this because we believe that a joy shared is a joy made greater, and a sorrow shared is made easier to bear. Anyone is invited to email a joy or sorrow to joysandsorrows@uufr.org before 9 a.m. any Sunday. And you can also use the chat function on your screen if you're at home this morning. Linda Rogers asked that we hold her sister and brother-in-law in our hearts as they struggle both with health difficulties and some hard decisions about health care. Tess Rubin shares that she is taking the botanical shadow boxes she has been making for several months to an art fair. She says, "I am taking a risk to be known as an artist and to sell things I create. I waver between confidence and the fear that what I have been doing is foolishness. Please hold me in your hearts." Linda and Billy Lyles are overjoyed to announce that today, April 24th, is their 40th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary, Billy and Linda. Today is Easter in the Orthodox Church, so let us wish a joyous Easter to all those who observe Orthodox traditions, especially holding in our hearts the people of Ukraine. Let us lift up our hope that they may find new life on the far side of the violence, loss, and grief they are experiencing now. And of course, Friday was Earth Day. So let us lift up our hope, too, that humankind will recommit itself to caring for our planet, since our own well-being is inextricably connected to its well-being, and let us ask what we may each do to help that happen. As we hold all of these shared joys and sorrows in our hearts and reflect on the joys, sorrows, fears, and hopes of our own lives, let's be together in stillness and in silence, opening ourselves to that spirit within us and amidst us, called by many names, but known to every human heart, that leads us to a fuller, deeper, richer experience of life. After the silence, we'll sing hymn number 1009, Meditation on Breathing. But now let's be together in stillness and in silence.
This song has three parts. There's two of us. I'll start with the drone. I asked that some folks in the congregation stay with the drone. Okay, here we go. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
If you did not hear the good news last night, I am thrilled to tell you that our pledge total for the coming year is now more than $650,000. That is even more than our pledge total for this current fiscal year that we are in now. So a deep thank you to all of you who pledged for your generosity. One of the many activities that our budget supports is this congregation's participation in One Wake. And Chris Olson is here this morning to tell us a little bit more about One Wake's activities.
Good morning. Like Sarah said, I'm Chris Olson. I'm one of our One Wake ministry leaders, and very happy to share with you some updates about One Wake is and what they're up to and why I'm personally involved. For those who don't know, One Wake is a coalition of 50 congregations and local organizations in Wake County, of which we are a part. And essentially what we do is, despite including all the many good our church does, there are just some challenges. Our hundreds of voices are not strong enough to win or fight. We have to join a choir, and that choir of 50 plus congregations are strong enough together to take on local developers, wealthy lobbyists and politicians entrenched that maybe are not always respecting the needs and desires of the common residents or distributing the county's resources in an equitable manner or in a way we all wish together. So very proud to join in with that large voice and choir. And also very proud that, like Sarah mentioned, that through our funding, One Wake leaders mentioned that the key to power is organized people and organized money, and UUFR has been succeeding and very generous in both of those regards in One Wake. Our funding helps make sure that One Wake stays locally and independent funded, self-funded, so not beholden to any majority party except its own members. And then our time and our presence has been key as well. Local politicians, don't have to pay attention to us when they don't see us in their room, they don't see us vote. But when hundreds of One Wake members fill their meeting halls or write them emails or show up consistently to rallies, they pay attention, and a few hundred votes are enough to sway local elections, so those types of numbers matter. I'm very proud to say that UUFR has brought over 200 of its congregation members, many of you out here I can see, to trainings, rallies, to local meetings and assemblies. So our presence really matters in that regard, and I want to thank everyone for that. So One Wake's most immediate agenda is focused on the upcoming local election cycle. This is a key time to win commitments from candidates and local politicians, especially around some of our key agenda items like affordable housing and property tax relief. So if you go to onewake.org, it's a good place to sign up for the newsletter, stay informed of their agenda and some of the upcoming actions. This is a time for us to show up again, so in our presence again, a few hundred people at these rallies will help convince these candidates. And I'll admit it's kind of a moment of pride when you see some of our local leaders in past meetings have dismissed One Wake, ignored us, or even derided some of One Wake's asks. And after they saw 50 to 100 members in their meeting hall, they quickly picked up the phone and started calling the One Wake leaders. So it really has worked. We've won relief and housing relocation relief for members in congregation and a community in Wake Forest who were getting kicked out by the developer and getting nothing for it. One Wake showed up and helped them secure some funding to help them relocate. We helped, through One Wake, support the members of the Las Americas Mobile Home Park in Cary, who had, despite paying for years and should be owning the titles to their properties, had never been given the property titles from the community owner. One Wake helped raise that up and secure, I think at this point, almost all the titles to the proper owners. We've helped in many ways through other local developments and other actions, but through which I'm very proud of our participation. Our most upcoming is this Thursday, our next action for members in Cary. If you're a Cary resident, please make sure you vote in the upcoming municipal elections. Early voting starts Thursday. One Wake will have a rally to the polls with almost all of the local candidates for town council present to speak and to see us in numbers and commit to their funding of affordable housing in Cary. So please, if you are in Cary, attend that. I mentioned voting because I'll shamefully say that prior to moving to Raleigh, joining UUFR and joining One Wake, I've never voted in a local election, never paid attention to local politics, couldn't tell you barely anything about who in past communities, who my local representatives were. I just didn't pay attention to it, and I was pretty ignorant. Through One Wake and through work here with our own church, our own voting advocacy teams and other efforts, I care a lot more about that now, and I do vote and plan to vote this year in the municipal elections. The amount of power and the amount of funding and change that comes at a local level is something I never appreciated until working with One Wake, making sure that we actively support all members of the community, uphold the diversity and richness, and make sure that things like gentrification and the rapid changing in our housing and other situation in the county doesn't kick members out or hurt the already disenfranchised, and we can make that change at a local level. I also care a lot about this work because I have a 1-year-old daughter. I care now in the past year, and I'm thinking a lot more about what I will imagine long-term of my community, something I've never thought, 10 plus years out. I'm used to thinking of a 6-month to 1-year time frame. But thinking now in longer terms and thinking about my place here in this community and somewhere I want to invest in for 10 years, I can tell you I've already built more network and roots in this community thanks to this church, thanks to our work with One Wake and meeting other members of other congregations, than I have in 6 other prior cities I've lived in kind of all my adult life and moving around. Never had the same connection. So this work already has helped me personally feel like I'm putting down roots properly and investing my time and effort in the type of city and home I want for myself and my family. And I'm appreciative of all your help doing the same for me and helping me feel welcome and building that type of community. So thank you for your help with that. And please join us in some of our other One Wake activities, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's now time for this morning's offering. I invite you to come forward and leave any contributions you may have in one of our 3 baskets up here at the front. Please be generous, and thank you.
From Joanna Macy's book, Pass It On, 5 Stories That Can Change the World. A prayer. We call upon the spirit of evolution, the miraculous force that inspires rocks and dust to weave themselves into biology. You have stood by us for millions and billions of years. Do not forsake us now. Empower us and awaken us in pure and dazzling creativity. You that can turn scales into feathers, seawater to blood, caterpillars to butterflies. Metamorphose our species. Awaken in us the powers that we need to survive the present crises and evolve into more eons of our solar journey. Awaken in us a sense of who we truly are. Tiny, ephemeral blossoms on the tree of life. Make the purpose and destiny of that tree our own purpose and destiny. Fill each of us with love for our true self, which includes all of the creatures and plants and landscapes of the world. Fill us with a powerful urge for the well-being and continual unfolding of this self. May we speak in all human councils on behalf of the animals, plants, and landscapes of the earth. May we shine with a pure inner passion that we spread rapidly through these latent times. We call upon the power that sustains the planets in their orbits, that wheels our Milky Way in its 200 million year spiral, to imbue our personalities, our relationships with harmony, endurance, and joy. Fill us with a sense of immense time so that our brief, flickering lives may truly reflect the work of vast ages past, and also the millions of years of evolution whose potential lies in our trembling hands. O stars, lend us your burning passion. O silence, give weight to our voice.
Out of the ruins and rubble, out of the smoke, out of our night of struggle, can we see a ray of hope? One pale thin ray reaching for the day. We can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city. Not a city of angels, but we can build a city of men. We may not reach the ending, but we can start slowly but surely, bending brick by brick and heart by heart. Now, maybe now we start learning how we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city. Not a city of angels, but we can build a city of men. When your trust is all but shattered, when your faith is all but killed, you can give up bitter and battered, or you can slowly start to build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city. Not a city of angels, but finally a city of men. A city of men.
I always get goose pimples when I hear that song, especially when I hear him sing it. He's been singing it all night. You woke me up singing it. Washington Irving's Rip Van Winkle is considered one of the most well-known stories in American folklore. The story has been told numerous times by ministers, teachers, and playwrights alike. As the story goes, Van Winkle, who lived in a small village that was overlooked by the Catskills Mountains of New York, fed up with his nagging wife, the pressures of the town, and the responsibilities that come with raising a young family, decides to escape it all by retreating up the mountain with his dog and a barrel of spirits. As he wanders up the mountain, he runs into a group of strange Dutchmen who invites him to their camp. After drinking with the men, he falls into a deep sleep and awakes 20 years later to a very different world. His dog was gone. His beard had grown incredibly long. When he reached the town, he realized that it had changed significantly as well. Signs and buildings were different. There was no one in the town that he recognized. He discovered his wife and children were gone, and to top it off, the entire country had changed from being ruled by England to being an independent country. All the makings of a blues or a country and western song. The Rip Van Winkle story was a favorite of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He used the story often to illustrate his sermon points. 56 years ago, Dr. King believed that a social revolution was taking place in our nation. Speaking in a Ware lecture at the UUA General Assembly in Hollywood, Florida in May 1966, he used the story to encourage the attendees and those who are in the struggle to remain aware and awake and vigilant. Dr. King's wasn't the only or the first prophetic voice to warn us to stay awake. Jesus told his followers in Matthew's gospel, "Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know the day that the Lord is coming." Jesus wasn't saying never to rest, but was describing the way that his followers were to be in the world, aware, watchful, with eyes wide open. Today's sermon title is Stay Woke, with a subtitle, Eyes Wide Shut. In recent years, you may have heard words like woke or wokeism, wokeness. Woke is originally an English adjective from within the African American vernacular, meaning being alert to racial prejudice and discrimination. The term is dated as far back as the 1930s, as it was first recorded in 1938 in a 1938 protest song by blues musician Huddle Ledbetter, also known as Lead Belly. The lyrics allude to the story about the 9 black teenagers known as the Scottsboro Boys, who were falsely accused of raping 2 white women on a train in Scottsboro, Alabama in 1931. The song was a warning to black people that they best stay woke, keep their eyes open when traveling, particularly through Alabama. In the years following, there have been several instances where the term resurfaced, mainly in the face of injustices. Both Erykah Badu and Childish Gambino have utilized the phrase in their songs, but it gained national prominence following the 2014 killing of Michael Brown, an 18-year-old who was fatally shot by a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. As a result, the term's meaning expanded to describe a person being aware of the overall experience of black people in the greater United States. And since then has expanded even further to encompass a broader awareness of global social inequalities such as sexism, genderism, homophobia, and so on. According to Wikipedia, it has been used as shorthand for left-wing ideas involving identity politics. Blavity News contributor Rave Crass says, quote, "Wokeness is an encouragement for people to wake up and question dogmatic social norms. It requires an active process of deprogramming social conditions, focusing on consistent efforts to challenge the universal infractions we are all subject to. For one to stay woke, one must first be woke. Those who are woke must engage themselves in ways that actively challenge the world we live in." End quote. Dr. Michael Carson, in his Psychology Today article on the subject, suggests that an awareness of unfairness in the treatment of others would make the world a better place and us better people, as it would undoubtedly create a culture in which the marginalized receive empathy instead of blame. A woke culture would be a pleasure to live in for everyone. If you hear me do this, what does that mean? Oh, y'all remember. So I'll say it again. A woke culture would be a pleasure to live in for everyone. Oh, y'all gonna get that Baptist preacher out of me yet? Come on. If you consider for a moment the core meaning of the concept of being woke, it would suggest one's being made aware of something that had previously been unknown, one's being enlightened. Now, I am a big proponent for a person experiencing enlightenment. Immanuel Kant defined enlightenment as the letting go of self-incurred immaturity or tutelage, and having the courage to use one's own understanding as opposed to what one might have been led to believe previously. A person reaches enlightenment when they can successfully think for themselves. Enlightenment is not a destination, it is a journey, a lifelong journey that we all should be treading. Amen. That sounds so good. And by the way, I was at a church and I did that, and after the church, a lady came up to me and she says, "I don't like that." I said, "Okay." I said, I just have, when I'm preaching, I need a feedback. I need to know that I'm not lecturing you and that you are engaged. I said, so you don't have to say amen. Just say ashe, namaste, whatever you want to say. Namaste, ashe, salom. Yeah, so. Salom, come on. Yes, so once awareness arrives, it brings with it a chance to produce and catalyze change. Once we know something that we can then act upon it. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, quote, "The greatest homage we can pay to the truth is to use it." So stay woke. If there ever were a moment in time that we needed to be woke, fully awakened, it is now. There is so much for us all to be awakened to as a species. The planet and all of creation grown from the seemingly insurmountable global struggles and strife that has befallen us just about at every corner of the globe. And this Sunday, as we observe Earth Day, and while in the northern hemisphere, it is also the season of renewal, when the earth itself is in its spring awakening. That climate negligence, we're seeing it everywhere, and it is a threat to us all. Scientists have very recently reported that we are nearing the point of no return. There are some definitive deadlines by which humanity must take serious action to combat climate change in order to avoid potential disaster. We must stay awake. In addition to the plight of the planet, the tense internal struggles, the socio-political strife are ever more present. LGBTQ plus people are under attack with Don't Say Gay bills in Florida and the new anti-LGBTQ legislation in Alabama and other states. And multiple new anti-abortion laws and anti-diversity efforts are taking place throughout the nation. Seems like all hell is breaking loose. I didn't tell you to do that time. But on the other side of the world, tens of thousands of Ukrainians have been killed or injured. Millions displaced, their nation ransacked and demolished. I find myself shocked by the reports, the videos, and the images of the disaster that is unfolding there. And for those who know, my partner is Belarusian, Russian, and have family in Ukraine. So I get to see it in real time. All the while, a deadly pandemic has taken more than 1 million lives nationally and 6 million lives globally, and it is still wreaking havoc. I feel helpless and ashamed of my helplessness and my avoidance of the news cycle. It's enough to make many want to just walk away, to look away. But the earth has been trying to awaken us from our slumber for some time now. If we are not diligent, aware of what's going on, then we will surely reach a point where there will be no more awakenings. It boggles my mind that some would degrade knowledge and scoff at someone's being awakened to the truths of the world, to science, or to the experiences of historically marginalized and oppressed individuals. Why would anyone not want to know truth about what's really going on in the world around them? There are probably many reasons. Fear of uncertainty, apathy, religious and political indoctrination, selfishness, personal gain, low ethical development, budget cuts in education, shallow and anti-intellectual culture, to name a few. All those reasons. But the subtitle of today's reflection is Eyes Wide Shut. Now, it would appear to be a contradictory term at first glance, but like many expressions in English language, it is a metaphor, is metaphorical. The implied contradiction is also the key to perceiving its meaning. If one were to ponder a bit deeper, they might see that the ultimate meaning suggests that a person can see well if their eyes are wide open, but they can't really see if they're shut. According to Arthur Marcel Iselli, in a January 2022 post, quote, "The expression is a play on eyes wide open, which means to be aware of one's surroundings. Since one's eyes are wide, it means one can see, but since they are shut, one is refusing to see." And there is the operative word, refusing to see what can be seen in one's or to be known. Read that again. Refusing to see something that can be seen or is in one's purview to know. Refusing to see something that can be seen or is in one's purview to know. Can you imagine for a moment, if you will, having the ability to know something, yet refusing to know it? And that is the world we live in. Now, I have been in the dark concerning some things, and there's nothing worse than feeling and that being the only one who doesn't know something that everyone else is privy to, but choosing not to know it. And yet, some would still rather not know. For them, ignorance is bliss. But it wouldn't be bliss for me, for instance, if I had discovered that after I had been walking around on the chancel all during this Sunday service with toilet paper on the bottom of my shoe. Yeah, you'd be looking, trying to point, and I'd be like, "You like my shoes, don't you?" No, you got toilet paper on the bottom of your shoe. Talking about how to lose an audience. There is the notion of intentional blindness, which I feel is often fueled by indifference and apathy. Because out of sight is indeed out of mind. If I can't see it, then I don't really have to respond to it. I don't have to respond to the pain, the suffering, the injustice. This is the real effect of not seeing. It could even be perceived that there's a subversive, coordinated effort in our society to pressure us not to see with our own eyes, not to feel with our own hands, not to love with our own hearts, and not to sense with our own intuition that we are connected in one single web of mutuality, that what happens unto one indirectly happens unto us all. And yet, somehow, it's a continuous act of courage and a perpetual work of the heart and mind to evolve our own selves into better humans. And despite all the factors stacked against that happening, to get and to stay woke and aware and to act accordingly in this awareness. It would be easy for us not to see and not to look, but it will be quite difficult for us not to know something we already know. Now, we can throw it away, I guess. Even that's impossible. But people take pride in their ignorance today, and even are arrogant about their ignorance, holding it as a badge of honor. I've seen nothing like it. But the anti-knowledge and the anti-science movement is nothing new. People have been anti-intellectuals for centuries, and there is precedent and validation for their position from none other than one of the most revered books of all time, the Bible. We see it in the first book in Genesis. Adam's sin wasn't about biting an apple. Just want to see if you're still with me. It was about his daring to seek knowledge. It was the truth that he discovered in his unsanctioned search that defiled him. And thus a sentence of death was imposed upon him simply because he was driven to know, simply because he was awakened when the scales fell from his eyes and behold, he could see. And this is how many of the devout view knowledge. They view your knowledge. I've counseled with many couples who were going through difficult times. Some were dealing with acts of infidelity. And I've heard it said on many occasions that what was most devastating to them wasn't the act itself, but rather it was the fact that it was kept from them, that they were in the dark, that they didn't know. Some of you may be able to relate to the pain of a late discovery or being kept in the dark about something that you had the right to know all the time. Jesus spoke a lot about being in the dark. He wanted his disciples to be awake. He said, let them who have eyes to see, see. My friends, we must stay woke. Even though the term has quickly become a pejorative and a wedge issue wielded predominantly by conservative media outlets and by one particular political party to disparage individuals, victims, and minority groups, and so on, who dare to speak out against abusive systems of power, culturally insensitive or offensive individuals, or other forms of abuse that's set against them. And some of those who decry wokeism are not completely wrong. In my opinion, sometimes wokeism, our being woke, the activism and the advocacy can and has gone amok. And the closely associated concept of political correctness has at times been extreme. And there's something to be said about this. I must be getting hot because I'm starting to sweat. Y'all, you get ready. Usually when I'm in a Baptist church, the Baptist preacher starts sweating. Boy, he's getting ready to start preaching. Get ready, get ready, get ready. Many on the right have latched onto the issues around extreme wokeism and the so-called cancer culture and have used this in the resistance against Black Lives Matter movement, in the multi-state bans on critical race theory, multiculturalism, and other diversity, equity, and inclusion endeavors, and now the multi-state don't say gay and anti-abortion bills. And even Disney got canceled because they dared to be woke. There's a growing consensus on the left that the term woke is already a bit outdated, as it has become a fad that people use use it without actually doing the self-awareness work that it entails. That's on our side. People claiming to be woke, but not necessarily doing the work. The theory has it that when uninformed individuals claim to be woke, but having not done the necessary work, they can come across as prideful or appear to be more enlightened or morally superior than the rest of us. They're the ones who are so self and socially aware that they become completely oblivious to the overall issue or intention at hand. And as the proverb goes, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Excessive wokeness in our culture implies that everything about the culture needs to be revisited. And that may be so, but not in one day. And so there are those who find issues to advocate for in just about everything and everywhere they go. Some of you may know whom I am talking about. They're the ones who always want to complain to the manager because perhaps the bathroom sign isn't inclusive enough, or a display sign is sexist, and so on. We all know these people. They might be sitting right next to you. Oh, Randy, don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. It might just be you. I recently delivered a sermon on Zoom for another a local UU fellowship, when one of the members attending, I don't recall who it was, they may be listening, but that member conveyed to me via the chat feature that while they really appreciated my inspirational sermons, my touching upon the socio-political issues in my sermon was a source of conflict for them, as these issues affected their disposition. Oh wait, there's more. Which then resulted in conflict in their life and in family relations. They indicated that they chose to only practice and abide in love, and therefore could not stay in the Zoom room for the rest of the sermon. Goodbye. A little passive aggressive, wouldn't you say? I had so much to say. But I wondered if that's what it felt like being canceled, you know? I wish I had the privilege to only stay in an oasis of love and abide in some utopia where there was only peace and wonder. No, you and I get to live on earth, right? I wanted to respond to this person by first acknowledging that as ministers, we cannot avoid controversial issues of the day, such as national intercultural struggles, violent international conflicts and wars. In fact, we are called as ministers, and perhaps all of us, we are called to identify the issues, concepts, ideas, or problems at hand. We are then to offer potential solutions along with the encouragement that there's always hope. And then we must call those who would heed the message of hope to action, to act upon what they have heard. A member once told me that the ministers can't help but be, my mentor once told me that ministers can't help be but political. For this is the work at hand. Every sermon is but a political statement on some idea, concept, behavior, or theory, and on the ways of the world and our being in it. But we laughed a few moments ago, but I completely understood how this person could feel that way. I know that feeling far too well. I recognize it. I too get tired of having to constantly contend with the daily barrage of negative media. I get tired witnessing people say and do the most outlandish of things that I have not witnessed before in my whole lifetime. Occasionally, we all will need to take a break and escape from the social and the political issues of the day. We all need to get away from the noise, the complaining, the vitriol, the wars, the infighting amongst family, friends, and neighbors alike. To go on a vacation, or like Rip Van Winkle, take a sabbatical up to the mountain. It's called self-care, right? But once we have recovered, the responsibility is once we have recovered and are in our reawakened state, We must get back to the task at hand, back into the struggle, back into the grind. Once Rip reached his destination, he was met by a group of symbolic Dutchmen who further helped him to shut out the problems in his life and the world around him. There, he was entertained by songs and strong spirits to where his troubles were all smoothed away. And in a blissful state, when the day was done, he found rest, some very good rest. Certainly we've all had moments like that in recent years. No doubt that's one of the reasons why you attend this religious community, to get away for a bit. You come here and you know you're going to find some type of strength, some type of hope, some type of encouragement. But in his speech, Dr. King said that the amazing thing about what happened or what had befallen Rip was not that he slept for 20 years and then awoke, but that the amazing thing is that Rip slept through a revolution. Dr. King goes on to warn us there's nothing more tragic than to sleep through a revolution. He implored the attendees not to sleep through the revolution. Indeed, there seems to be a social revolution happening in our day on a global scale. We must be aware, recognize the moment that we are in, for we are indeed in an intense battle, not just for the soul of our nation, but also for the survival of the planet. Dr. Reverend Benjamin Boswell said, quote, "There's an internal revolution taking place, a revolution of the heart and mind, body and soul. So we must shake off our apathy, our lethargy, our desire for the comfort of sleep, consumption, stability, and sentimentality. We must throw it off. We've been charged with the work of love, peace, mercy, and justice, and we cannot do the work we've been called to do if we are asleep. The world is trying to lull us into a deep sleep, but we mustn't sleep. Humor me for a bit. Suppose we just all gave up. Went into our room, pulled the shade, closed the door, and then just fell asleep. Let's just say we slept for 20 years, and then we woke up. What might we find? I want you to think about this soberly and seriously, because this is really the crutch of what I'm going to tell you today. I want you to take away. What might we find after we've awakened after 20 years? Might we find that the Paris climate deal is no more? Oil rigs are in our backyard. What about having anything goes on social media? Could it be possible that no one could use the acronym LGBTQ any longer? Could it be possible that gay marriages would be annulled? Could it be possible that abortions are illegal in every state and attempting such could garner a life sentence? What about it being no more a consumer or environmental protection agency? Could it be possible that we are a theocratic banana republic with all types of governmental corruption? Can you give me a couple more? What might we find? I'm listening. Just humor a bit. What might we find? Pollution. What else? War. Rich people on another planet. Well, resegregation. Yeah, what else? Huh? Yes. I missed that one? No more democracy. Mass starvation. I wanted you to get that. Because as progressives, and I'm not saying all of us are progressives, but the things that progressives support, if we went to sleep, can you imagine what our world might look like? As a minister, my job is to offer hope when it seems there is none. And the one thing I can tell you today that I find hopeful is that we have one another. I won't tell you that you need to go out and hang out with the people that differ with us socially, politically, or religiously, but humanity, if humanity is to survive, we will have to learn to coexist with those. But I'm telling you to stay strong, stay woke, with eyes wide open, with ears and hearts attuned to this moment, this season in which we are living. Stay woke to the plight of the immigrant, the struggles of the poor and the disenfranchised. Stay woke to this rich heritage that is our movement, and to the deep reservoir of power and love within. Stay woke to a heart full of grace and compassion, and to the hope that our work and efforts are not in vain. Stay woke to a love beyond belief that now calls us forth to meet the challenges of the day. Stay woke for such a time as this, that we be the change that we want to see in the world. I come to remind you, to encourage you, to move you, to shake you awake. Stay woke with eyes wide open. If you will, wrap your arms around yourself. Close your eyes and just know that you are loved. Breathe in. And then just exhale. Now I want you to just squeeze yourself a little tighter. Now, if you will, begin to shake yourself just a little, as if you were being shaken awake. Now open your eyes and look around. And know that you are not alone. We are woke, but as one. Together until the day is done. And then we'll take our rest, not for 20 years, just till the next rising of the sun. And to a new day where new hope, new love, and a newfound peace has sprung. May it be so. Amen.
Please stand as you are able for our closing hymn. That'll be number 348, Guide My Feet, and Bill and Linda will help us out again.
Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Race in vain. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Race in vain. Stand stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race no way. Race in vain. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. 'Cause I don't want to run this race in vain. Race in vain.
Please be seated. A quick reminder for parents that we ask you to pick up your children from the nursery or peace hall before going to social hour. And now, as we prepare to end this time of worship together, may we do so with ever more love for one another, with ever more gratitude for the precious gift of life that we share this very day, with ever more peace in our hearts, and with ever more hope for our own lives and this world we share. Amen.